Welcome to the Mortgage Broker Podcast, tailor-made for Canadian mortgage industry professionals. Proudly presented by A Better Way Mortgage Group, this podcast is your trusted source for insider insights, market updates, and strategies to elevate your career in the ever-evolving world of mortgage brokering. Whether you're a seasoned broker with A Better Way Mortgage Group or an industry enthusiast looking to stay ahead, our episodes are designed to empower you with the knowledge and tools you need to excel in the Canadian mortgage space.
In October of last year, you brought two very strong brands together when you acquired Fisgard Asset Management. Fisgard, I'm sure everyone or most people listening have heard of Fisgard. They've been around for over 30 years, one of the larger MICs in Canada at the time as well. Very established brand. So other than the Strandlands being such incredible people, like why Fisgard, why now, or why October of last year, and how did the deal come together, and how are things going now that you're, I guess, 9 or 10 months in?
Hand over heart, pull up a deck that we put together maybe in 21 or 22, where we had this M&A thesis in our space. And it's classic. You know, every private equity firm talks about there's a huge generational turnover coming. Businesses are needing exit strategies. Who's going to buy? And one thing we felt is that as our space got more institutionalized, as capital started to flood in, competition for deals would heat up, which has happened. Add in the slower mortgage volume piece, that's just made competition even harder. I think there's another side to it, though, where some of the, call it reverberations of this down market have yet to play out in our space, in particular in the residential space. But sticking to Fisgard, you know, we had this thesis and we've been kind of soft in the market. What's interesting is, of the groups we had talked to in the past, you kind of network, you hear these guys might be looking to exit. There was pretty big, call it valuation gaps. And there's a lot of people running small MICs who have inflated expectations as to what their MIC is worth. And at the end of the day, this is just pretty simple math. You're basically buying future cash flows. And maybe there's some strategic reasons to buy the MIC. And for Fisgard, we had some, which I'll get into in a sec here. But just sticking to the thesis, you know, we were out there in the market as people who, hey, we would be buyers. You know, I did a lot of M&A when I was at Stikeman. Alex has done a bunch of M&A through Lendesks and tuck-ins. You know, he exited that business to Rocket to the US. We know what we're doing. So we felt like we were a pretty good counterparty. You know, our age is an advantage. You know, I'm the oldest in our, call it, shareholder group or ownership group. I just turned 42. So we've got time on our side in some respects. So yeah, we were just out there in the market. And because of that, we got wind that maybe Fisgard would be for sale. And that was really interesting to us because going back to, you know, you mentioned the brand and the story and the Strandlands, like they're a group that we literally had on a whiteboard or certainly in a bunch of spreadsheets that we kept, you know, in the 2015, 2016, like, hey, these guys are really good. In fact, Alex dug up an email that he had sent his dad, I think from 2008, saying, hey, Dad, check out Fisgard's website. I like what they're doing. You know, we should keep an eye on these guys. So yeah, they've been on our radar. They're a great brand. They had good but reasonable valuation expectations. You know, for something that big, it's a different story than like a $50 million or $100 million MIC. This is a real business.
How big was Fisgard?
About 300.
300. And you guys, so combined, you're around 800 now?
That's right. Yeah.
So you're one of the largest in the country.
We are now, yeah, thanks to M&A, right? So going into Fisgard, you know, it's kind of old school. Like we reached out, we had a call. There was a whole long song and dance. It's like dating. I haven't dated in 21 years, but sorry, I still date my wife. I think that's what you're supposed to say now. But you're out there trying to convince people that they should be with you. And the thing with Fisgard is we met, we said, hey guys, we think it would be a good match. We actually approached them with a deck. Imagine going into a first date and saying, here's why you should date me. But that's kind of what we did with these guys. We said, this is why we would be a great match and why we can win the future together. And I think it was a compelling story. At one point, we went away. You know, we just couldn't quite meet in the right spot. And we were good about that, but we kept the relationship going. I went and had breakfast with Rafer, face-to-face, talked, you know, maybe we could have another date. Maybe it's worth talking again. You know, if you change these things and I change these things, maybe we can do it. And then Alex met with him and had coffee. And it just kind of, it's like, you know, this feels right. So we sharpened our pencils a bit. They sharpened theirs and we came together. And it was kind of old school in that regard. It's like, how about you trust us? Because they also care a lot about their family legacy and the brand.
Yeah.
And we're going to be stewards of that, and we are stewards of that. So the key for us with that acquisition, the reason why we were really excited about it, other than the brand and the team, I mentioned you're buying future cash flows. Yeah, that's important. But strategically, it was big for us. So it did a few things. And the thing I've been saying a lot is when people do M&A, they talk about synergies. You can almost do like a Monty Python type skit of sitting around a boardroom. Oh, synergies. Yeah, we're going to get synergies. But well, tell me what they are, write them down, model them, and let's see if they're actually going to work. And so we had a list of about 5 pretty strong synergies. And just to work through the first few, number one was the credit box. Like, man, if we can go to market with a bigger credit box, Neighborhood's got a ton of capital. We had better tech, better underwriting, better deal processing. So if we can offer the Fisgard credit box to our brokers who have been saying for years, guys, we need you to do more. You need higher LTVs. I'd send you my volume. We can win. So that was one synergistic plank. Another interesting one was on capital structure. So Fisgard has a retail operation. Over 30 plus years, they've brought on many thousands of retail investors. Neighborhood does not have a retail operation, really, to speak of. We had an exempt market dealer, but it was really in place so that we could bring on like friends and family in a compliant way. Our primary investor base is institutions and advisors. So we gained a retail investor base. And that was interesting because now you've got several thousand clients that you can market to, that you can do new things with. And then the list kind of went down from there. So it was a really compelling deal for us. We also felt that, it's nothing new in the industry. You guys have probably heard it too. A lot of people are like, oh, M&A is going to happen, M&A is going to happen, M&A is going to happen. Well, no one really did it. And we went out there and we're like, we're just going to do it. And I think now what's interesting is having proven that we can do it, we're seeing more interest in working with us. Because it's one thing I like to say, and it's not just me, ideas are cheap, execution is everything. So a lot of groups are like, oh yeah, we might buy a mix. Great. I encourage you to try it. It's really hard. It's actually really hard. And the buying, while it's hard, is kind of the easy part. The really hard part is integrating. And so it was a really weird time because before we had even closed the deal, we had started integrating, and not like in a formal way, because there's some reasons why you have to be careful with that. We're obviously not going to hand over a bunch of data. We're not going to compete unfairly in the market or anything, but you have to plan so that when you're closed, you now can be one unified business. And what does that look like? So we had months of meetings, mapping out technology, for example, vetting the technology. What are we going to use going forward? How is that going to work? How are we going to train people? What's the communication? All this kind of stuff. It was hard. Even building an org chart, like mashing 2 teams together, is its own challenge. So that part's been tough. So here we are, 9, 10 months later, whatever it's been. I'd say it's been a success. Candidly, I'd tell you if it wasn't otherwise. There's definitely still a few wobbles. Back in March, it was still really hard. But here we are now, like the systems are humming, the teams are working well together. We've managed to integrate well. And one thing I heard from a person I really respect, the president of RBC BC, RBC bought HSBC. And he's like, oh, it took a year for the smiles to come back. Like M&A is hard, and I think we're a little bit ahead of schedule. I've seen a few smiles, definitely some frowns early on. Like change is hard for people, especially those who didn't know the deal was coming. I mean, I flew over to Victoria shortly before we closed to basically be like, I'm the new boss. And even for me, from a career perspective, that was an interesting thing to do, to stand in a room and be like, hi,
Yeah.
hope you're excited. Go for lunch and talk amongst your friends, and we'll reconvene in a bit here. It's been an interesting one. And, we're definitely out there in the market looking to do more if it's out there, but it has to make sense.
Well, it sounds like you guys have, put in the strides that you needed to leading up to the acquisition and the merger. And I mean, to your point, there's a lot of different kind of components to this business. I mean, it's the team, which is a massive piece. I mean, it's keeping investors happy, which is essentially a big component of what you've acquired. Hallie and Rafer, did they end up staying on in any capacity?
Yeah, they're shareholders and they're still on the team. They're not employees, but they're active. Rafer, he's a deal guy. So he loves, especially to the extent we do see the odd commercial deal come through. I mean, that's a muscle that Neighborhood didn't have before. And Rafer loves looking at those, along with there's a dedicated underwriter on that as well. So that's fun for him. I think for a lot of people selling a business too, you have the conversation, what do you like doing? What do you not like doing? And every business leader has things they don't like doing. It goes, well, let us do that for you.
Yeah.
And you can enjoy doing the things you like doing. Hallie's network is crazy. If you look at the synergies, that was another thing we acquired. Neighborhood's really good at what I would call kind of the digital marketing, the hand-to-hand combat, less good at kind of the top of the house down relationship building. So Hallie has helped tons with that, like just introducing us to the right people and getting some relationships going there.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here. It's still set up so there's two funds and Neighbourhood is managing, correct?
Yeah.
So what does that look and feel like for a broker submitting a deal? Is there any reference of Fisgard anymore? Is everything Neighbourhood now?
Everything's Neighborhood. So the way we thought of it is this. We're going to have one broker-facing brand. It's Neighborhood. And, there's a debate. Is it going to be Neighborhood or is it going to be Fisgard? And our view is that Neighborhood probably has a stronger brand in the market. We do more volume, we've done more digital marketing. Fisgard has more legacy.
Right.
But the reality is we're doing, 1.5 to 2x the volume of Fisgard. So let's make Neighborhood the broker facing brand. So to the extent a broker submits a deal to us, maybe if you like really, really got in the weeds somewhere, and I'm not even sure then, they don't see which fund actually funds the deal. So everything you do is Neighborhood facing. And that's worked really well for us. So internally, we have an allocation engine that decides where the deals will go based on risk appetite, based on leverage in either fund, capital availability, that kind of thing. So sometimes we don't even know where a deal is going to go when it gets submitted, but it doesn't matter to the broker. It's going to be the same underwriting, the same servicing. The pricing doesn't change, the last minute because it went to a different fund. It's all Neighborhood. So that's good. But then we decided that Fisgard has a much stronger brand on the retail investor side. And so we've kept the exempt market dealer investment side of the business branded as Fisgard. And we've been leaning into that brand and we're doing more every day.
That makes sense.
We've got some exciting stuff in the background. Maybe that'll come soon. But like one interesting thing that happened was, we acquired Fisgard and thinking this is a little bit of, experience like, oh, these investors will be really excited. Big institutional investor, you're going to get better financing, you're going to get better reporting, you're going to get monthly distributions as opposed to quarterly. You've got a great management team behind it, all of it. A lot of them were excited, but a lot of them like, I don't know these guys.
Yeah.
And I trust the Strandlands, I trust Don, I trust the Fisgard team. Who are the are they slick? Are they going to pull a fast one on us? And it's funny because that's not our business. We're very transparent. We like to fall in our sort of like we do a thing we call the chart of the month for investor reporting. We're like, here's what's going on. You're hearing about redemptions in the industry. Here's what our liquidity looks like. Here's what we're doing. You're hearing about a lot of delinquencies. Here's a deep dive on our foreclosure files. We're happy to share that with our investors. So for us, we thought these Fisgard investors will love it. I think it's taken more time than we expected to build that trust. And we knew it would just take time.
That's human nature, right? I mean, I think the fact that Hallie and Rafer are shareholders, that's telling as well. I think that's an important piece that, it's impressive that you guys were able to make that work as well.
When you talk about going through the M&A process, managing the org charts, the staff, all of that, and, your investors' expectations, how did you guys map out how you're going to kind of spread the word out to the broker community and what this was going to look like? So if you had a strong Fisgard user, like how that was going to look to them. Did you guys put a lot of thought into that whole process?
We did. And, you guys can be the judge as to whether we did a good job. But yeah, a lot of thought went into it. And it's nice to have a real deadline. So one thing we did in this deal is we wanted to announce the deal at the MPC conference in Ottawa in October. And trust me, that was really hard. I think at one point it was only Alex and I, maybe Rafer and Hallie, pushing back on the lawyers, the bankers, all of it. We're like, no, we have to close. Stikeman did the deal for us. I remember getting a call from the partner there who I used to work with, who actually helped hire. And he called me a few weeks before we were supposed to close. He's like, hey, Taylor. And I could just tell by the tone of his voice. And before he can even get into it, I'm like, I'm not having this call. We're closing like in 2 weeks. It's just happening. He's like, all right, that's why you hire Stikeman and all this stuff. But I'm like, I know what this is. I used to do your job.
Yeah.
Like, It's not happening. We're just going to work till midnight every night for the next 2 weeks. This is going to happen. We're going to close, and I'm getting on a plane to Ottawa, and we're announcing this deal. So that's how we did it. We did have a strategy. We put a press release out. We definitely communicated with, a lot of broker partners. The key message and what I've learned with communication is you just have to repeat. It's like nothing's changing.
Yeah.
Really. Two great brands, but hey, if you submit through Lendesk, just keep doing that and we'll catch it. So your deal is going to be the same. So I used to bucket how the integration was going into sort of 3 buckets. And one of them was originations. And that is the one that went the best from integration, like hands down went the best. Volumes went up right away. We got a big marketing bump from the deal. People were excited. So we saw submissions go up. The technology worked really well. The underwriting team from Fisgard adapted really quickly to the neighborhood underwriting guidelines. Like it just really worked. So that side, I think we did really well. Still got the odd question, but not so much anymore. I'd say after the first month, it was almost more technical. Like, hey, I'm going to submit my deal to Fisgard. What does that look like?
Yeah.
Our team was really clear on how to make sure brokers were comfortable with their submission and how it actually work and get funded. One thing I was really adamant on integration, I'm like, we cannot miss a funding. Like if someone's got keys waiting for them on a funding and we screw that up on Monday, it's a disaster. And so we spent a lot of time making sure that would not happen, and it did not happen.
From our shoes, and we talked to a ton of brokers, and a lot of them work with you, I heard 0 negative feedback. So
yeah,
we would hear it if it was out there. Trust me.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. If you found value in this show, please subscribe to our channel on your preferred platform. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Your support is incredibly appreciated. We also welcome your reviews and feedback, which are crucial in helping us deliver outstanding educational content. Feel free to share your thoughts. A 5-star review would be fantastic if you think we earned it. Now, a message about something that means a great deal to us and to everyone at A Better Way Mortgage Group. City Reach Care Society is our chosen charity partner for 2026. For over 20 years, City Reach has been serving thousands of vulnerable individuals, children, and families across Greater Vancouver. They call themselves the Hope Business. When you see what they do, you'll understand why. Through their Food for Families program, City Reach provides fresh, nutritious groceries to over 4,500 people every single month. They partner with 54 schools across Vancouver, Surrey, and the Tri-Cities to make sure kids have access to food, hygiene supplies, and the support they need to thrive. Every August, their Back to School Blast puts backpacks filled with school supplies into the hands of 1,000 children heading back to the classroom. Here's what makes your support go even further. Every single dollar donated to City Reach translates into $10 worth of food for families in need. You can learn more, donate, or sign up to volunteer at cityreach.org. That's CITYREACH.org. Once again, thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.